We're not even midway through 2022, and we've already got several Knockouts of the Year contenders. The most recent addition to the list was Zhang Weili's spinning-backfist from hell against Joanna Jedrzejczyk to settle their rivalry. Most fans were looking forward to a showdown between the two former champions, only for it to end in the most brutal way imaginable. Today, we'll be looking at the highlight reel KO by Zhang Weili. First up, the greatest women's fight of all time. The main reason for all the hype behind this matchup because the two fighters have previously encountered one another in a fight that got the award for the 2020's Fight of the Year and the greatest women's MMA fight of all time. Sounds impressive, right? Well, it was. It had every bit of chaos that you could want, with Joanna's head ballooned up by the end of it, as if aliens had abducted her. The fight was a pure striking battle. There were a few takedowns attempted, but some of them wanted to keep it on their feet. It was Joanna's technical expertise and high level of Muay Thai background against the raw power and athleticism of Zhang Weili, serving as an equalizer. All 5 rounds were super close, and the judges gave Weili the nod via split decision. They have the hardest job sometimes, folks. Next, we have high stakes for the rematch. When you witness something that great in front of your eyes, all you want is to see it again. The UFC made us wait 2 years, but finally decided to book the long-awaited rematch between the two former champions, with Carla Esparza winning the belt in an absolute lackluster fight against Thug Rose. Dana White showed no interest in making that fight again anytime soon. Too bad for Rose, but it had a silver lining, as we'll see a fresh matchup during the fight week of UFC 275. Dana announced that the winner of the Zhang Weili versus Joanna Jedrzejczyk 2 would get the next shot at the title. If the fight wasn't a must-see before, it just became that. With title shot implications, the two of them were as motivated as ever. Weili thought she was the rightful champ, as the rematch between her and Rose was incredibly close. Joanna also wanted to make one last run at the title, and who better to face than Carla Esparza, a woman she'd already dethroned when she first became the champion. The stage was set for both of them. All they needed was to seize the opportunity. And now for the spinning backfist. The rematch didn't last quite as long as the first fight. This time around, Weili used her grappling skills a lot more. For those of you who don't know, Zhang Weili joined Henry Cejudo in the US for her training camp for the rematch against Thug Rose. It did prove to be beneficial, as the rematch turned out to be a lot more competitive than the first fight, with many people saying it was a robbery. We overuse that word a lot, don't we? But it's true. Weili decided to use the same game plan going into the rematch with Joanna. She was grappling heavily in the first round. Just when we thought this fight might not be that exciting, Weili landed a spinning backfist that made Joanna fall face first on the canvas, as Weili celebrated with a flip like she's always done. As soon as the blow was landed, fans all over the world started making arguments as to why it should be the knockout of the year. We saw another spinning attack by Molly McCann at UFC London that stole the show. Perhaps this one would overshadow Molly's elbow, as Weili managed to finish one of the greatest fighters of all time. Who thought we'd see 2 women in the knockout of the year competition? These smaller weight classes are delivering some heavy action. So let's discuss Joanna's retirement. Even though the finish was super exciting, what happened afterwards was a really sad moment for all of us. Joanna decided to take her gloves off in the octagon. In her post-fight interview, she officially renounced her retirement from MMA. The Boogie Woman delivered some of the most memorable moments in women's MMA. The 5-time strawweight champ is considered by many to be the greatest strawweight of all time. Joanna hadn't been that active over the last few years. She'd made it clear that she only wants the fights that get her excited. Even the president of the company said that she's made so much money that she doesn't want to fight very often. Perhaps she wanted to get to the title one more time to cap off her legacy before she called it a day. Nevertheless, still a legend of the sport and a pioneer of women's MMA. And now, a Hall of Fame induction? There are many controversial inductions into the UFC Hall of Fame. There's no clear route, and we don't know the criteria the selection committee has. However, there are some fighters that you can't argue are future Hall of Famers. Even before her retirement, there was no doubt that we'd see Joanna getting inducted into the Hall of Fame at some point. The Boogie Woman has held a few records to this day. She has the record for most strikes landed by a female fighter, most title defenses in UFC strawweight history, and of course, the greatest women's fight of all time, which we may also see getting into the Hall of Fame. Dana White was recently asked about Joanna's possible induction, to which the boss man said that he he has no doubt that she'll make it up there. A well-deserved honor for a legend. This year we'll be seeing Khabib Nurmagomedov and Daniel Cormier making their way into the first-class inductions. It's safe to say that it'll be Legends Row for the next few years. Next, in other related news, Dana White reacts to Nate Diaz's issues. We're halfway through 2022, and Nate Diaz is still begging the company to release him so he could go somewhere else to compete. Diaz has only one fight left on his contract. For the better part of the year, there have been many discussions of him and Dustin Poirier having their long-awaited grudge match. It's a fight literally everyone would like to see. It could have also served as a perfect send-off for Nate, but the UFC weren't into that idea. The only fight they offered him was with Khamzat Chimaev, which is probably the worst matchup they could find. Perhaps the UFC wanted to take all the juice out of building up a rising star in Chimaev. Dana White was asked about Nate Diaz's future, to which he said that he's 1-3 in the last few years. He's not like Kamaru Usman, and he can't get everything he wants. White also said that he should just go and fight Jake Paul, as he's on that level. Looks like things aren't very smooth between the two of them. Recently, Kevin Holland also volunteered to fight Nate Diaz, which is also something we'd like to see. Let's hope we can see him in action soon. So, can Khabib beat Izzy? The former lightweight champion, Khabib Nurmagomedov, has been retired for almost 2 years. The Eagle is recognized as an all-time GOAT. Many people believe that he'd also have success going up a weight class to welterweight, but we never thought of him going all the way to middleweight and fighting the champ. Khabib's manager, Ali Abdelaziz, made a statement that he thinks Khabib can beat Adesanya at 185 pounds. He said that Khabib weighs 200 pounds now that he's retired. If he decides to cut to 185, he can take on the last stylebender. The statement is extremely ridiculous and biased, but the more you think about it, the more it makes sense. Unlike welterweight, the middleweight division is striking heavy, with not a lot of guys having the grappling skills that Khabib brings. The size would be a major disadvantage, and realistically, we never see that fight taking place. But we've got a guy who's undefeated and barely ever lost a round inside the octagon. Even the crazy things seem realistic. We've seen Chael Sonnen talking about whether he could take on Khabib, which he wasn't so sure about. All we know is that there are too many interesting matchups for the Eagle if he ever decides to come back. Finally, is this the end of the Smash Brothers? A duo we didn't know we wanted until we saw it with our own eyes. Darryl Till and Khamzat Chimaev are the most beloved friends in the MMA community. It all started after Till lost the main event against Derek Brunson, and Chimaev offered to train him in Sweden. Till made good use of that offer and went to Khamzat's camp to get better at grappling. The two of them are also partners at a crypto firm, so it made a lot of business sense for them to get together. Ever since they paired up, we've been seeing them together everywhere, and we can't get enough of it. Fans started rumors of the Smash Brothers going their separate ways when Khamzat posted a picture with Jack Hernason, a fellow Swede who's about to face Darren Till in a few months. He has a good relationship with Jack, and the two have also competed in a charity wrestling match. There are a lot of questions to be answered, but we don't want the Smash Brothers to stop hanging out anytime soon. And that's a wrap for this video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.